Teal Swan, internationally recognized teacher and powerful voice in the field of self-development. And I have to say, I put her above most. And I have high regards. I mean, when people say, Tim, who's your mentor? I say Jean-Luc Picard on the Star Trek Enterprise. And I have to find fictional mentors, you know? So, I mean, but she's one that is definitely a mentor. I see her as a mentor for me. And she is incredible. She's a host of events all over the world. She traveled around. She's a conscious, medium-minded gal. Just found that out. And let's bring her in. And we'll talk about her book, too, as well. Teal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. Listen, thank you for coming on our show again. And you look younger. How does that happen? Must be good living out in wherever you're staying. So, wow.
I got good news for you.
Yeah, what?
I got some good news.
I want to hear good news. I love good news.
There's not so much difference between your mentor and me. That actor has the exact same birthday as me.
Are you serious? Are we talking about Patrick?
Yeah.
I forgot his last name. How can I forget? Are you serious? No kidding. Same birthday.
Yeah.
Wow. I love for Glory to do your numerology readings. Can you imagine that? Not, wow. Listen. So you're familiar with Jean-Luc? That's good to know. Actually,
there's a small class of us that cries when the theme for the old Star Trek comes on, and I am part of that.
Oh, listen, I'm both. Listen, if I could combine Kirk and Jean-Luc into one person, that would be like my ideal person, right? But this is so many of them. Who knows? But it's funny you say that. We digress, right? Wow. Well, what a person now to understand the true nature of Star Trek. And I actually used that in an interview one time. Got me the job. It's like, who do you look up to? I said, Jean-Luc Picard. And then she asked why. And when I told her why, and then boom, there it was. So, Teal, what is going on right now with you in the anatomy of loneliness? So why did you decide to come out with another book?
Well, besides suffering from loneliness myself too within an inch of my life, what blew my mind about loneliness is that we all think that we're the only one that feels it. That would be the nature of loneliness, isn't it? So you're walking around town, you're looking at all these people, and you're thinking, well, they feel close to their family, that he feels close to his spouse, that person has best friends, and you're telling yourself the story that you are completely alone. And what totally blew my mind once I got into this line of work is that it did not matter what country I went to, what culture I was interacting with, or what personality I was dealing with, popular or not. Everybody reported the same thing, which was this feeling of being alone. So I was like, this is an epidemic issue. Then I started looking at the world and all of our epidemic issues, things like crime, things like school shootings, things like, terrorism. And what I actually saw is that the root of every single crime is, in fact, a sense of isolation. Because if you felt connected to somebody, you couldn't create pain in their life without likewise feeling that same pain with yourself. Whatever we're identified with or whatever we consider as me, mine, or ours, I will feel pain if there's damage caused to that thing. So there has to be a level of disconnection for there to be suffering caused to another human being. So I started to see this as an epidemic issue, and I wanted to dive into it, but I had no idea where to start, right? So I did what I usually do, which is to go on my own personal, very intense, this time shamanic journey to figure out the answer to loneliness. What is it that's creating this loneliness and how to solve it?
Is that your process, is when you kind of touch on something that you feel is needed for humanity to kind of get a grasp on, you'll go into your hiatus, you'll go into, I don't know, ayahuasca moments, or, go into where you're alone, so nobody bothers you. You're just there alone for whatever period of time, and then you come out?
No.
Okay.
I am never alone.
Hence the anatomy of loneliness, right?
No, but I do deep dive.
Oh, really?
I have to do all the other stuff I'm doing at the same time. Like hiatus is not really what I do. It's more like I'm doing everything on top of these deep dives. But
right.
Man, did I go deep this time?
Right. Well, apparently so, because let's jump into it, because I think this is so critical for people to understand, because this is, you hit on the nose, this is an epidemic, and this actually feeds into almost every, if not every addiction that we have. Because when you said that word disconnect or not connecting, I think that's key to loneliness, because I often, and when I'm home, I have a nice big house and a lot of property, and might sent my two boys out to college just recently, and people are like, well, you can have empty nest syndrome. I'm like, hell no, get out of here, get out of my house. I want to walk around naked in my house and not be bothered by anybody, And so, but after a while, I'm like, all right, I'm lonely now. Okay. So what are the types of loneliness are we talking about here?
Well, the type of loneliness that I'm the most concerned about is the loneliness that exists regardless of whether we're in the room with one person, two people, three people, or an entire group of people. It's the loneliness that can't be solved just by physical proximity. And it's the loneliness that actually is enhanced by physical proximity.
Hold on, enhanced by physical proximity. So,
Yes.
because honestly, when I was married, my last 2 years, I was more lonely and isolated and disconnected from everyone than ever before, and I had somebody sleeping in the same bed with me.
Exactly.
Wow. So, wow, that's pretty heavy, huh? You hear that? So, continue on. So, what else about
What
loneliness?
else?
Yeah, about lonely. I mean, that's something. That's everything, right? But when you say it's you got your typical loneliness, and then you have a much deeper loneliness, right?
Yep.
Well, describe some of the behaviors of that when you know you're not just being bored, but you're really into that depression of wow, I'm really disconnected from everything here. What are
Well,
some
the
of the
first thing that
characteristics?
anxiety is the principal one that people will experience
Mm.
because we are a social species. That's a freaking understatement, by the way. And
Yeah.
what drives me the most crazy, actually, in the spiritual field, especially, is the fact that we have an expectation that everyone's fine alone. We have a sick addiction, actually, to independence, and it's a
Mm.
complete and total illusion. But what we are doing is we're completely overriding our biology. Now, I realize that there are some people that enjoy that idea, that think that it's somehow transcendent to get beyond your humanity. I am completely against this concept, even as a spiritual teacher. But basically, we're a herd species. We're a group species. Our entire survival is dependent on the group. We are no different than a deer. We are no different than a dog. We are a pack animal. Our survival and our health and thriving is completely dependent upon our proximity to one another, and not just proximity, intimacy with one another.
Mm.
But we like to deny that. And it's understandable. In any kind of a group species, there are shadows inherent in group. And because of those shadows, we have learned that there are painful associations with the concept of love or connection. We learn essentially that we can't have ourselves and have other people too. And as a result, we go into all this unhealthy behavior around the addiction to independence. And we try to override the biology in us that absolutely needs connection. But when we try to override an aspect of us that needs something for our survival, the first thing that we will start to feel is a sense of anxiety.
Oh wow, that's so heavy because there's such a drive in I don't know the Western culture is to become independent. I want to be able to do this on my own. I don't want the help of anybody. And you're saying we need to revisit that because that may not be the healthy drive to go. When we get back from break, Teal, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this unhealthy perspective of being independent and how it disconnects us. Or are we running away? What are we running away from? Is there something deeper going on inside there, Wahid? I don't know. I mean, geez, because I've been an entrepreneur. I've been chasing the dragon all my life. What am I running away from, right? So there's so much to talk about. We're talking to Teal Swan, author of The Anatomy of Loneliness. We're going to go deep into this, guys, today. So hang in there. You're not going to want to miss this interview. Start sharing right now. We'll be right back. See you in a sec.
King, my queen of hearts has never known a bigger star or a bigger part of my life now.
We are back with Teal Swan. Yes, in studio via internet. Come on, I'm looking right at her. Yes, welcome to the new conscious media, television, radio, combined into one. This is what it's coming down to. You know, got to get on the cutting edge. I don't know how we put our system together, honestly, but it works. Well done, people. Yes, we're talking to Teal Swan. She's author of Anatomy of Loneliness. And guys, listen, I want to mention one thing to you. You really need to pick this book up because if you pre-order now, she has a gift. Go to gifts at tealswan.com, gifts at tealswan.com. Show them that you pre-ordered the book, and you get her last book, Connection Process, which ties right into this book. It's a win-win situation. So check it out. So Teal, wow. I mean, I don't know if it's a Western thing or if it's a masculine energy thing. Maybe it's a masculine energy thing to be independent.
It's Western.
It's Western. It's a Western thing. Yeah, because I mean, I guess we're conditioned and taught this at a young age, right?
Yeah, and it's total crap. I love one thing that I love is that the people who are preaching independence go to the grocery store. You can't. It's a contradiction.
Well, explain that a little bit so the average fellow could follow.
You got to be able to do everything by yourself, right? It's all about independence. You go out there and do it for yourself, right? But those very same people drive to a banking system. If those people don't show up in the morning, and if that bank is closed, you have no money. If you have no money, you don't go to the grocery store. Also, what you're completely dependent upon. Without the farmer that's growing the vegetables, without the person driving the vegetables to the store, without the store clerk putting them out in the store shelves, you don't have any food. So, like, literally, your life, if you look at it, is completely dependent.
So independence is an illusion.
Independence is a complete illusion. What's not an illusion is autonomy, and they are completely different things.
So, okay, before we go into why we need to embrace dependency, let's focus on what's unhealthy about being independent. Okay, so I mean, why?
Besides the fact that it's a complete illusion.
Well, life's an illusion, Teal. Come on, we gotta have some type of fun here in this reality. I mean, okay, so what's unhealthy about being independent is you're saying that it creates or perpetuates loneliness.
Yes.
Okay.
Immensely.
Okay.
Immensely. And it is to deny your principal needs. We have needs. Human beings have needs. Every living biological organism has needs, and those needs must be met. And what we are denying is the most important needs to us, which is our emotional needs. Now, for a physical human, emotional needs are more important. For a pack animal in general, by the way, our emotional needs are even more important than our physical needs. And this is where I love to argue with biology, because people say the most important need is food and water. If that was the case, when you have a breakup, you wouldn't starve. Now, how many of you know what it's like? You have a bad enough breakup and you can't eat, you can't drink, and you can't sleep.
Right.
Explain that to me on a biological level if it's not a higher need connection.
Huh, you're right. That doesn't. I've never thought about that before, but it's not a priority apparently.
No, that's why people actually do die when they're isolated. They do.
Right.
It is possible to die of a broken heart. Your body will literally give out when you are not getting your principal need of connection. And a lot of our needs, they have to be met by other people. That's what we're not getting. People want me, especially as a spiritual teacher, to stand up and say, look, you can meet all these needs by yourself. Everything you want can come from within. It's complete and total bullshit.
Right. Wow. Well, apparently, if that is the case, then how do we turn that ship around? I mean, you're talking about a society that not only conditioned at a young age to be independent and to do what you want, because we tie in, this is what we tie in. We tie independent freedom or choice with independence. There's that association. You're saying even that is an illusion.
No, I'm saying that the autonomy is free will.
Okay.
That's nothing more than differentiation, and we need that. That's a principal need. But these emotional needs that I'm talking about that cannot be met by yourself are things like understanding, things like intimacy. These are actual genuine needs that we have, and you cannot meet those needs by yourself. You are dependent upon other people to meet those needs.
Okay, so
it's about finding out how those are met. But autonomy, right, is personal choice. And it's not a contradiction to closeness, and that's what we got to get. There is no contradiction between free will and dependence. None.
Wow. So does this play right into how everybody's a mirror of yourselves, and we're co-creating our reality every nanosecond? That how can we be not connected to everyone else? You're saying, because how can we want to be alone if everyone's a mirror of ourselves? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a more graduated understanding of it. I mean, the more graduated understanding of it is to say that it's possible to be alone is the most complete illusion that there is. Everything in existence is part of the same energy. This is collective consciousness. And so this table that this computer is sitting on is a part of me. So are you. So is the microphone in front of you. So are the lights. I mean, everything in existence, whether it is living according to our standards or non-living, is a part of us. And so if oneness is the absolute truth of this universe, there is no such thing as I am alone.
Wow. I mean, think about that, because we talk about it all the time. Our interconnectedness with it. We're just energy. We're just same energy as everything else. We're just more grouped together, and perhaps some type of spirit energies inside us, whatever it may be. But so this drive to be independent is an illusion, and it really doesn't serve us. You're saying it doesn't serve us because it keeps us lonely, and more importantly, let's just say this, disconnected from source.
Yes.
All right. So let's take it on that level. So connection to source, for whatever that may mean to you, and some people it's Christ, some people it's whatever. It doesn't matter. I just once I stay at source because then I start defining it and then I probably lose its meaning, whatever that means, right? So our connection to source is very important and makes us or has us believe that we're not alone, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So when we're feeling lonely, it's pretty obvious to say that we're not connected to source at that moment.
Yes.
All right. So what are the steps here? What can we do now to get ourselves reconnected to source if when I'm because most it's an epidemic. Everybody's lonely. I mean, literally lonely. You could be married with somebody standing right next to you. I mean, in your face, and you could be lonely. So it's like you said, it's not the proximity. It's that feeling. It's that connection to source, right? So what are the steps here to help us reconnect? I don't know. That's even what we want to do?
The first thing is to let go of the idea of source being separate from the person sitting in front of you.
Ooh.
So most people like to make that differentiation. So when we think of source or God, we're thinking about some thing that does not include the other person. And I'm saying you literally begin, if you want to lose your loneliness, lose that idea of connecting to some non-physical entity and realize that that non-physical entity is manifest in everything in your existence and start connecting to that. So if you're the person across from me, I want to develop intimacy. If I want to get rid of my loneliness, I have to see into you. I have to feel into you. I have to understand you. I have to hear you completely so that I am receiving your frequency, your channel. And by doing so, I am joining your reality. And this is what we have to learn to do with each other. And the biggest barrier that we have to allowing the other person to do that is inauthenticity.
Wow. So would you say our society, that's how narcissism is created, through the disconnection from source, right?
Narcissism is created when in childhood, a child could not get the approval that they needed from one of their parents. No matter what strategy they took, it didn't work. And so what they learned is, I am out for myself. I have to fend for myself. And this happens in a dysfunctional household where every individual within that household is in fact only prioritizing their own best interests and their own needs. And so all the children have to figure out a strategy in order to adapt to the needs of whatever adult is the most self-centered in that household. But it's everyone for themselves. And even the codependent in that household, which is the opposite of the narcissist, has just figured out a strategy so as to do that. But that strategy is still self-serving. It's, I'm going to meet all your needs so I can meet my needs. So it's actually just as self-centered as narcissism. But the person who turns into the narcissist couldn't figure out that strategy. And so they literally just withdraw into a bubble of it's me, myself, and I.
Wow. Well, it seems like that, and they become lonely, disconnected from source, and then they feed into that narcissism of really it's a shattered child who can't get the approval or the needs they need. Once again, we're not getting the needs. Because you know why? Was half the time we don't know, if not majority of the time, we don't know what our needs are. We don't know how to ask for our needs, right?
Well, and this is where the obsession with independence comes from. Independence is only an obsession in those who never got their needs met by other people. And I'm going to have to be honest with you right now. I am a spiritual teacher. I love teaching spirituality, but I also hate it because what I'm sitting in front of when I sit in front of a spiritual audience is hundreds upon hundreds of people whose needs were not met by any of the people in their life. And so they turn to God.
Right. Right. And is that another distraction?
I think so. I think it's the opposite of what people actually need. I think it benefits them in the short term when they're in a position where they're like, well, no one's going to meet my needs. So I have to come up with some way to not be powerless. But there is a step beyond this, and it's that no, your actual needs is to connect with people, and that's what we need if we want to end all the issues that we have on the planet today and the dysfunction within our individual selves. All
right, let me paraphrase this because this is such heavy stuff here. So most people, when they're not getting their needs met, and they can't get their needs met because they're not even asking or they don't know how to, they turn to a higher power or something that is not connected to them. Because, like, I don't have the answers. You must have the answers, right? So I'm just going to, like, put all my energy into you over there rather than realizing the connectedness of between who I am and everything else. So bringing it back to us again. So, wow, this is when you're looking at a group of people, wherever you go, that's the main focus, because then people will put like you in the category of being God or being the savior. They're putting all their hope in you saving themselves. I mean, it's just another transference of energy away from yourself, right? I mean, wow, that's pretty heavy. but it's so valid. And so, but the good news is, we got good news here, folks. Don't freak out. We got good news. Good news is, you have some answers you could share when we get back from break on how we can bring it back from giving our power over to others and bring our power back within ourselves to reconnect with everything that we're all one anyway, and move towards a more integrative belief of ourselves and what we really are. Right? You got those answers for us, Teal?
No, I'm just going to leave everyone in suffering. Yes, I do have
I love it. All right, guys. You guys, listen to Teal Swan. Brilliance Teal Swan here of her. I mean, honestly, your content is every video. You guys go on YouTube right now. Click on any video where Teal Swan has. I don't care how far back you go. If you really sit and listen and connect with it, you're going to see, wow, these are the pathways. This is the roadmap of how to be the new human in this new century of leveling up in unconditional love, raising our frequency. And this is the roadmap for it. I honestly, you really need to check it out. And also check out our new book. Come on, Anatomy of Loneliness. Who writes stuff like this? This is the epidemic. This is going on more. This is going to solve everything. You have an addiction to sex, addiction to drugs, addiction to food. It's all a distraction from loneliness, from connection to source. And this is a roadmap how to get there. In practical, pragmatic terms, too. I mean, come on, you can understand it. I mean, she speaks. It's just like, wow, I get it. You guys, check it out. Go to Teal Swan. Go to tealswan.com. Is that your best website to go to?
Yes.
All right, tealswan.com. You can't go wrong with that. All right, remember, gifts at tealswan.com. Check it out. You get her last book, Connection Process, if you pre-order the Anatomy of Loneliness. I'm getting it. We'll be right back. See you in a sec.
It's how I'm feeling. I know.
All right, Waheed, slow this interview down, man. It's going way too fast. Come on, man. Yes. Hey, don't forget, this Saturday, October 13th, Mastermind. That's like the big buzzword, masterminds. People throwing it all out there. Really, it's a celebration party, man. I love to throw parties. So listen, plan on coming October 13th. We're having the biggest gala party, red carpet, black tie affair. We got media there, even national media can be there, taking pictures of you guys in your nice little gala gowns. Come on. Nice, yeah. And we have Butterby Rocka, R&B band playing all night long. We have our Sir Rod Patterson doing a little Michael Jackson interpretation. Come on, does his little program. We have Guru, Yogi Ramesh, flying in from California, doing an opening. He's a laughing yogi. All he does is laugh all the time. Laugh, 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 laugh. Come on. How can you not be in presence when you're laughing all the time? Check it out on Saturday, October 13th. We have a Shark Tank-like program. Shrimp Tank's actually going to be there, and these guys are high wealth network people who can be coming in, and you have a chance to pitch your entrepreneurial idea to them. And if they like your idea, who knows what's going to happen? And we have people on panels coming in who'll be sharing their wisdom as well on empowerment and inspiration. And at the end of the day, we have the gala. You guys, this is going to be a great event in Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta, right, where the players play. There you go. Done. All right, back to Teal Swan. Teal. Okay, so we talked about connection. And you mentioned one of your videos. You mentioned about 4 primary fears, because I want to talk about, we talk about separation, and separation is a key word, and we want to be able to connect. And then we'll talk about shame and fear. But you mentioned four primary fears. Do you recall what they are?
If I remember the video
okay. Well, I'll mention them, then you can share them. One of the primary fears you mentioned is abandonment.
Yep.
Okay, now why is that different than rejection? Isn't that the same, or is that similar to rejection?
You could consider them similar, but it's 2 separate fears, because rejection isn't necessary for abandonment. Like, a person could die and you feel abandoned by them. They're not necessarily rejecting you as a person. Rejection more creates a state of shame.
And a state of shame now, because I listen, I know one thing about shame. Shame kills. I mean, literally, you change your molecular structure to shut down in shame if it's severe and it's not addressed, right?
Well, I actually think that shame is a necessary part of human incarnation.
Oh my! Don't you love her perspective, man? Like, you come out with something, she's like, "No, I look at a different perspective here." All right, so explain yourself, woman.
Okay, well, the first thing to understand is that shame is not an emotional state. It's a biological affective reaction, and you cannot get rid of it any more than you can get rid of the fight or flight mechanism. It's the same thing. You poke a sea anemone and it's going to close. And that's how shame functions. And it functions like that primarily because we are a group species. So can I explain shame to you for a second?
Please, absolutely.
All right. So because our survival is dependent upon the group, and especially one primary person. Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, call it mom, because in the first phase of life, we're basically perceiving ourselves as fused with mom. If mom now turns against us in any way, pushes us away in any way, and this is just very subtle and energetic. So let's say that I'm angry, and because of it, mom pushes me away. I will instantaneously, because I need closeness with her, and that's everything, kind of like a monkey clinging to mom, I will instantaneously have a biological affective reaction to gain closeness to my mother by pushing that aspect of me away. That's what shame is.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah. So but the thing is, we can't push ourselves away physically, you see?
Yeah, yeah.
So what has to happen is a split in our consciousness. I have to create a gap in my own consciousness, or a split between the part of me that person's disapproving and the rest of me that I identify with. So shame is the mechanism for fragmentation within a physical human. Now I will turn against that aspect, disidentify with that aspect, and have to consider it as not part of me, so as to establish closeness with whatever person I need to be close with. And to the degree that we are disapproved of and rejected, that's the degree to which we will experience internal fragmentation. And what we're identifying as the emotional aspect of shame is literally a secondary thing to that biological affective reaction, the same way that anxiety is actually secondary to the fight or flight response.
Okay, so make sure I follow you on this. So what you're saying is that when we split, we because we can't accept the reality, right? So our ego can't accept the reality. So we create this shameful experience here, and then you have whatever the reason is. We want to reconnect. Our goal is to integrate and reconnect with that shameful moment, to understand that it's part of our growing process, not something that's totally separate. Am I missing it?
I don't even know where you took that.
Okay, well, listen, you got to explain it again, because my head is going 1,000 miles a minute here thinking about what you just said, because I think it's okay. So shame. So when you have the shameful moment, right, and you split, just like a DID second.
Can we make it more personal, because it'll make more sense to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in your childhood, think about something that your mom or dad disapproved of.
Gotcha. Okay. You want me to tell you? All
Yeah.
right. They disapproved of me not coming home at certain times. I would sometimes not come home at all.
Okay, so their opinion towards that was what type of behavior?
Anxiety, fear.
Like what was their opinion of that? Like judgment of.
I'm not being respectful of them.
Okay, so you're not respectful.
Yes.
You need the closeness with your parents. Now, I know this was at a later age. It would have been better if you used an example earlier, but here's the thing. You need the connection with your parents. That is your survival. And at a very, very basic, we're talking like nervous system, reptilian brain level.
Right.
Your survival is dependent upon your closeness with these individuals. So when they turn against your disrespectful nature, shame is the biological affective reaction of gaining closeness with them by turning against your disrespectful behavior. So you have to disidentify with it, disown it, and reject it in some way. You have to push the disrespectful aspect of you away. And by doing so, you create a split in your own conscious mind.
And okay, so through shame, I'm able to get closer to my parents, because it allows me to realize what I did. It's like the judgment, it measures where I am. No,
it enables you to disconnect from whatever is getting you that rejection.
Ah, okay.
And so from that day forward, you will have the same response anytime anybody insinuates that you have that part of you that's disrespectful. So if right now in this interview, if I was to insinuate that you're being disrespectful, it would trigger that initial shame response where you want to push that part of you away from yourself.
So how's that healthy then?
Well, it's healthy because it's a part of you. You're not going to get away from it. We need closeness.
All right.
But the thing is that what I'm trying to help people graduate in the direction of is the opposite of that fragmentation. When we feel the shame, we instantly know what part of ourselves we need to bring closer. So you have actually a separate fragment within your consciousness that is I call it a shame self, right? And the identity of that shame self would be a disrespectful aspect. And if you look at this as if it's a separate person, I call them Siamese twins in the book. But if you look at that aspect of you as if it's a separate person, it would have the image of whatever you see as disrespectful. So, for example, I'm not going to use like you,
Yeah, that's fine.
specifically, but for somebody who has the disrespectful shame self, they may have a shame self that looks like a punk rocker, who has got their hair long, who doesn't follow any rules, who I could go on.
The rebel. Wow.
Yeah. So you have to, the antidote to shame is to actually re-own that aspect. It's to bring that part in and to create closeness with it. And what I'm saying is, so as to not trigger the biological affective reaction of shame, as parents, we can't keep rejecting aspects of our children. So we have to embrace the anger and show the anger how to express itself in a different way. It's a completely different approach to parenting. It's a completely different approach to our social interaction.
Oh, absolutely. So basically, I have to embrace my disrespect.
Yes.
Well, good luck there. I mean, who knew I was DID? Come on. Just learn something new every day about yourself. But wow, that's and so once I embrace my disrespect and be okay with it and love it, right? All right, I'm getting I'm getting it. See? Come on, I'm getting it. And so once I embrace that, and then I can look back and say, thank you, shame, because you kept it there the whole time and didn't let me go on to something else, because now I could grow from this experience, right?
Yes, and this is where I want to dive super deep, because we have this perspective, and it's so rampant in society, that you have to become good by pushing away the bad in you, for example. That we maintain fragmentation and thus create loneliness. Try to bring me back to this, because I have to explain how fragmentation creates a sensation of loneliness, because it's really big.
All right.
But for the sake of this part in our discussion, this is complete idiocy on our parts. We're not
it's insanity.
That whenever you push a part of yourself away, let's say that in this case it's the disrespectful aspect.
Yeah.
It has no choice but to be manipulative, because its needs aren't being directly met.
Right.
What manipulation is not at all malevolent. It is that I can't meet my needs directly, and so I have to meet them indirectly. That's all it is. So if we push this disrespectful aspect of ourselves away, it doesn't go anywhere. It's still going to exist, but it has to get its needs met in these roundabout ways. And as a result, that part of us begins to create negative expressions of its behavior. So the disrespectful aspect of you may actually hold your boundaries. It may actually be the one that has your definition of yourself. It might have the preferences. It might be the one that says, no, I'm a night person, not a morning person. And so it might be the one capable of making the right decisions for you. But because you pushed it away, now it's just the one that rebels against everything and that ruins relationships.
And self-sabotage, and it's subconscious, so we have no idea how we're doing it. So
exactly.
So wow.
What I'm proposing is that exaltation occurs when you bring these aspects in towards yourself. It's like a third element. It's not that by bringing it in you become more disrespectful. It's that by bringing it in you start to express the positive nature of that fragmented self. So I like to use the example of the energy vampire.
Okay.
Everyone sees an energy vampire and is like, oh my God, get that away from me. That's the worst thing you can possibly imagine. And by doing that, they will continue to prey on energies. If you embrace the energy vampire, what happens is that behavior mutates through the focus of inclusion and through the focus of actually love, which is to take that part as part of yourself again when we re-own it. That expression of energy vampirism starts to shift, and they become the best energy workers you've ever seen. Because they have been brought in, they now feel a sense of connection. If you feel a sense of connection, you're not going to be able to separate somebody's best interests from your best interests. It's now the same. And so you can't take their energy in a negative way. Now you have to take it in a positive way. Now these energy vampires start to feed off of negative energies like cancers instead of positive vital energies.
No kidding. So they start actually healing you because
yes.
you're embracing them with love rather than fear.
Yes, and I need everybody to, and let's get even more. I want to really define this because it's so critical for people to understand this.
Yeah.
If you bring something in, to love something is to bring it in as part of yourself. If I do that, I am now connecting with it and I am now owning it. So whatever, let's say that you pull the criminal in to society, right?
Yeah.
If I do that and I give them enough of a sense of connection, through that connection now, they can't hurt me without hurting themselves now. And so any expression of themselves has to take a positive form. That's why it works the way it does.
Well, I think you just nailed the whole how defining reality actually works on a spiritual level and a three-dimensional level. I mean, oh my goodness, that's pretty incredible. We got to take another break here, Teal. We get back, let's continue this conversation. We'll talk about the fragmentation you mentioned also. But once again, it's embracing your fears, embracing what was split or happened to when you're younger, and looking at shame as a mechanism to bring you back into integration with yourself. I mean, wow. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thunk? Huh? Come on. I think we're doing it wrong in the world here. We gotta fix this. I'm a fixer. Call in the fixer. I don't know. I think we got one right here. Her name's Teal Swan, author of Anatomy of Loneliness. You're getting it all here, guys. The Good Intention Show on the UI Media Network. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with Teal Swan, internationally recognized teacher and powerful voice in the field of self-development, which you're hearing right now. Also, she's author of The Anatomy of Loneliness, which we've been talking about throughout our show today. And we left off on, I don't know, the 1-2 punch on how to navigate through reality. How about that, huh? Come on, what else do you want from me? What else do you want from Teal? Come on, just do it, right? No, it's fascinating, Teal. I mean, seriously, when you realize what you just said, and when people kind of sit back, and we have some of our producers who are taking notes, like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm like, no, what about the work? You're taking notes, and they're not even doing it, they're listening to you. So when you hear about what you just said, how we need to lean in. We need to lean into our darkness and what we consider darkness or fear. Really, it's leaning into your fears. It's embracing your fears. And that's when not only you can transmute that, and I don't want to go too heavy on this show. We'll have to have you back. We'll talk further about perhaps, these entities outside of ourselves and what does that mean, and how you just said, what you just said is that once you lean into them and embrace them and love them, they're now working for you. They're working for your better self, the better health, because it's in their best interest to do it now. It's a win-win scenario, right?
Oh, and I would definitely like to come back and talk about that because it has profound spiritual implications, because we are evolving out of good triumphing over evil, and we're done with that.
Oh, good.
Now what we're moving into is the integration of good and evil. So what teachers like Christ were trying to get across to people when they taught things like love and things like love the lepers is that you have to embrace it as part of yourself. And so the ultimate act of Christ is to embrace Lucifer as itself.
And this is how I just had this thought. It's how like people like Mother Teresa are able to not get diseases from other people because the energies and entities were actually killing the cancer. They weren't killing the vitalness of them because her love was transmuting it. And I mean, is there any truth to that? Maybe.
Yes, there is.
Wow, guys! Talk about having the power to heal self. There you go. I mean, it's a hackneyed saying, but love conquers all. I mean, come on. But but not just love. There's most of us live conditional love lives, right? I mean, I love you if you do this for me, right? And vice versa. But we're talking about that kind of that scale of energy, that unconditional love of energy, right? Frequency.
Yeah, if that was possible for the majority of human beings, yeah. We're not there yet. That's the thing. We're not there yet because we're not unconditional with ourselves in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. We are only present with ourselves conditioned upon the fact that we're happy, conditioned upon the fact that we're successful, conditioned upon, you want me to keep going?
Oh, wow. You remind me of like my angels and my guides. They're probably sitting like this with their arms crossed. Tim, come on, man. Let's hurry this up, man. Let's get your act together, right? You're because I know last time I mentioned you were like the Marines. You're like the new human development because you're here to help create the fertile land. You got to come in, storm the land. You got to create the land here for everyone else. So you're like the person going through the wall first time. You're going to get hit. You're going to get knocked down. I mean, sorry, but that's just your purpose here. You had a rough life, but I'm glad you went through it, because people like you are inspiration for so many others, and it may not seem like it is, or I don't know, maybe you do see that, but I'm telling you, I feel a lot of change coming, and I feel very hopeful. And I get frustrated myself because I'm like, come on, man. I mean, seriously, war, isn't that just like so overdone? Come on, can't we let that go? I mean, it's silly now. I mean, why are we trying to kill people, right? And before I grew up wanting to be a soldier and want kill, right? And that was just kind of the mantra. But here you are, you're the new soldier. You're the new way of living life. And do you find yourself getting frustrated more so than usual?
Well, yeah. Well, primarily why I'm frustrated is because the very people who are crying for no more war are at war with the people who are creating war.
But they're just unconscious of it, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
But we're all at war. If there's no war internally, there is no war externally. That is an absolute reality in our time-space reality. So really, it's about ending the war internally. And what bothers me the most is that people don't even see that it's going on.
No. But thanks to you, we have at least a fighting chance to become aware of it. I mean, hell, I gotta love my disrespect. Come on, man.
Yes.
That could be kind of fun. I'm looking forward to it. But I wouldn't have known that if you didn't share that. So you mentioned earlier about fragmentation. You wanted to touch on that. So is that related to also anatomy of loneliness, or can it be related to it?
Of course it is, because there's an entire. So one of the main pillars of loneliness is separation. And the separation that is the most troublesome is actually the internal separation. So inside of ourselves, we often think of our consciousness like it's a clump of energy. But this is not the way that consciousness really functions. The way that consciousness functions is more like water in a river. And a river can split off into all these different streams. Like you've seen one main current, then it goes off this way, and there's like 40 other, pilot streams branching off of this. So our consciousness fragments. Now, here's what happens when consciousness fragments is that there's space in between those fragments. If I push a part of myself away, but it's still connected to my body, I register the separation felt by whatever I push away. So to the degree that we are fragmented, we will feel the sensation of isolation in our own bodies.
Oh, wow. So because we're fragmented, we can feel that sensation of isolation. And because we can feel that sensation of isolation, we're going to want to reconnect.
Yeah, and we must.
And we must. Boy,
and the universe is benevolent. You ready for how this I realize that this is like a college thesis level type of understanding, but
it must be said.
What must be said is that we live in a world that is based on law of attraction, and a better way of saying that is that we operate in this time-space reality in a holographic mirror. And so what the universe is trying to do, or what's the inevitable byproduct of being in this mirror universe, is that we will meet on the outside those aspects we have rejected on the inside. When we fall madly in love with somebody or feel an attraction towards somebody, it's that magnetism is because there's a polarization within us. We have disconnected from a part of ourselves, and so we're being given the external opportunity to love that part of us.
So, boy, talk about narcissism, back to loving ourselves again, right? But it seems like that on a superficial level, but it's actually it's a growth process, isn't it? We're learning to love the part of ourselves that we never loved.
There's no such thing as narcissism and self-love. That doesn't make any sense.
All right. Well, on a superficial level, I get it. Trust me, your definition, I get it. I'm just saying superficially because we have not accepted self-love as a natural way. I mean, we're ashamed to not self-love, honestly, in a society.
Yeah, this is my definition of self-love.
All right.
It is to take all parts of yourself as part of yourself. It's the opposite of shame. It's the opposite of fragmentation. It's self-love is for you to embrace your shame, your what was it? Disrespectful aspect. That's self-love.
My rebel. Honestly, I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to love the rebel? I love my rebel side. And but maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. But now I need to.
You don't, because even when I'm sitting here and watching you talk about it, it's like you want to. There is actually there's a tension in your body because it's you and it's the reality of you. But
right.
At the same time, there's part of you that feels like it's wrong.
Yeah.
And feels like it's going to come with consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't fully embraced it yet. Wow, look at that. I tell you what. Come on, Teal, help a brother out, would you? No, it's wonderful. I think it's fascinating.
Well, I'm doing so. You ready to take this to the next level? That's part of what I'm doing right now.
Well, tell me about what you're doing. How do you take it to the next level?
Well, besides you doing it, do you see in my eyes a rejection for that aspect of you?
No,
no acceptance?
I see full acceptance. In fact, I feel very comfortable to share that side with you right now because, you probably would appreciate that side of me, and I feel comfortable. Like, you're right. I feel it. I see it. I sense it. And I'm not even psychic, so, and I could pick up on that.
This is what we can do for each other. What we can do for each other is to stop this crap that we keep doing where we push aspects of other people away.
Mm.
And we're not, and this is on a greater social level, we are not going to be able to rehabilitate criminals until we understand crime. And that means we have to actually get into the perspective of having done it ourselves. We're not going to be able to rehabilitate a serial killer until we understand the motive completely. If we are still in disapproval of everything that is happening, we can never embrace something and bring it close enough so as to change the expression that aspect is taking from negative to positive. It is never going to happen. So I am really, pushing in society for us to be able to do this with each other. And that if people ask me all the time, how are you able to create transformation in people? This is the answer. Is that when somebody sits down in front of me with this, I'm so bad because of this aspect of myself, that's not how I'm going to see them. And as a result of that embracing of that aspect of themselves, they will be able to meet the needs that are being met so indirectly and creating such a negative, outpouring within their social group.
Wow, this is truly the definition of unconditional love. I mean, you talk about embracing and loving Jeff Dahmer. You talk about embracing and loving. I mean, and that's what we consider unconditional love. But you're right. Our society, they're not there yet. We're not there yet. I mean, we're so conditional in love, right? So, wow. I mean, that is some heavy stuff, but yet feels perfectly correct and right to me. You guys too? They're shaking their heads, yeah. I don't know about Shahid, though. He's not, yeah, okay. But no, Teal, this is wonderful. And listen, we're going to have you come back on. Are you able to hang on for 1 second after we close the show?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to have you back because I want to talk about next time. Let's take this to the beyond the veil and how working with this, embracing our demons, our dark side, how that actually really creates, I never even thought of from that perspective, how it actually, we're helping these so-called demons to grow. I mean, maybe.
Okay, there is nothing more than I am a light worker to fuel the dark. Nothing. So when people look at me in the face and they say I'm a light worker, when they look at me in the face and say I'm triumphing over evil, you just created it, my friend. That is what you did.
Wow. So I'm creating my own demons.
Yes. And you are creating a gap so wide that you cannot bridge it. And when you do that, when you push those aspects away within the greater universe at large, you will see every negative manifestation of it.
What we focus on is what expands. Wow. How easily that's done. And you don't even realize you're doing it. Yes. Incredible. All right. Well, when you come back, we're going to be discussing that topic, okay? Is that a guarantee? Guys, check her out. Teal Swan, the one and only internationally recognized teacher and powerful voice in the field of development. Her latest book, Anatomy of Loneliness. Go check it out. And don't forget about her offer, gifts at tealswan.com. And you get her other book, Connection Process, for free. Gifts at tealswan.com. It's a must. It's a must read. Teal, thank you so much for coming on the show. Looking forward to next time. All right, guys, there you go. Don't forget, we got Psychic Soup today at 3 o'clock, right? Beth Peters has an incredible guest there talking about what's going on in the psychic world. We'll see you there in a minute. Bye, guys.
You have been listening to The Good Intention Show on the UI Radio Network. The Good Intention Show is sponsored by the United Intentions Foundation at unitedintentions.org. Look for us on Blog Talk, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, and many more. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram under United Intentions, and on Twitter at Higher Intention. Be sure to log on to unitedintentions.org, a virtual community where you learn to create, track, and manifest your passions, one intention at a time. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, live life with intent. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.